Facebook Live.
All right, here we go, guys. Here we go. Get ready.
Streaming live on GSBN and Facebook Live.
All righty, welcome back to Global Sports Broadcasting Network. I'm your host, Cornelius Brad Hanna, right here on GSBN. It's Hanna Time. Big Sports Monday. Lots to talk about. Let's say hello to people on YouTube, people on Facebook Live, and the other social networks that we're going to. We got a big show for you. Lots to talk about on NFL Sunday, college football. Let's get to it. And right off the top, too, folks. I mean, we got some topics about the Cowboys, the Bears, the Patriots, the Cardinals, what happened in the playoff settings yesterday, and who's going in. Remembering this Titan. Who is that Titan we're talking about with the Tennessee Titans running back? If you don't know him by now, we're going to let you know more about him. He's a great one. How about the Clemson matchup against LSU in the National Championship game? That is set for next Monday. What happened over the weekend? A lot of talk about Ohio State, and they're not happy, but we'll break that game a little bit down later on. How about the decade's best moments in sports? After this past decade is about to close, we got 2 more days, today, tomorrow, and we're on to 2020. All right, let's get to it. Cornelius Brad, Hanna coming to you live. Hanna Time. AFC seeding, if you haven't figured it out yet, Baltimore and Kansas City. Yes, Kansas City is the bye team. They get the bye week, the 2nd seed, Baltimore number 1. New England slips to 3. It's Houston Texans at 4, Buffalo at 5, and the Tennessee Titans slip in at 6 with a big win yesterday, convincing win yesterday in Houston. Then you have the NFC seeding, if you want to make sure you got it right. San Francisco and Green Bay. San Fran's number 1 seed. Green Bay's number 2. They get a bye. They don't play next week. The teams that have to play are the Saints, the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Minnesota Vikings. Very tough division conference right there. If you want to break it down, we're going to have New England playing Tennessee in the AFC, Houston playing Buffalo. These are great matchups in the AFC. And then nothing easy for Baltimore or Kansas City if any of those teams win to move on to play in the next round, the second round of the playoffs. For San Francisco and Green Bay, they're going to wait to see what happens between New Orleans playing Minnesota. Another rematch from a couple of years ago where the Vikings win it on a Hail Mary moment, the big whiff tackle in Minnesota. This is going to be played in New Orleans. Then the Eagles at home against the Seahawks, who lost last night. The winners of those games are going to have to go up to Green Bay and San Francisco, depending on the seeding. So there you have it. 2019 playoff picture is set. Doesn't matter what happens from this point on, folks. It's all ready to go. But what did happen yesterday to the New England Patriots? They were holding on to the number 1 seed, and then they lost that, and then they lost the number 2 seed yesterday. They lost to the Miami Dolphins at home. At home. And it's so relevant by history that the Patriots, with their, what I've always said, the easiest path to the Super Bowl, good team, sometimes great, but a good team that has also gotten through by just playing 2 games to get to the playoffs. When they have not had a bye week, the Patriots are 3-3. Never making it to a Super Bowl. No Super Bowl wins. They've struggled being a team without a bye week. Most teams do. But even the great Patriots, as people want to put it, can't get by. Can this be one of more of those great accomplishments for a team with a lot of controversy around it, but to overcome odds or overcome more and put more history in their books about doing something they never did before by winning a Super Bowl, by not having a bye week, by not having home field advantage other than wild card weekend, playing against the Titans, which is going to be really tough for the Patriots the way they're playing. When they have had their bye week, they are 27-7, 13 postseasons, 9 Super Bowl appearances, and 6 Super Bowl wins. Big difference. Let's see what happens if they can overcome something they've never done before. Or is this the last of the Patriots? Is this the breakup? The last hurrah? Is the dessert the last thing they're going to have before they go away? If you want them to go away or not, all eyes on the Patriots in that aspect next weekend. It could all end and goodbye. All righty. Speaking of the Patriots and their fans or somebody who likes to gamble a lot, how about this? There is a guy out there who bet $80,000 on the New England Patriots to beat the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins won the game with a late touchdown with like 20 seconds left to go in the game. Shocked New England. Had no chance at that point. It was over. A guy lost $80,000 betting a straight up bet, taking no points or giving no points to that bet, meaning -3 or -5 or -7. If he would have given the points, he would have won the bet. But he took it straight up because the winnings would have been greater. Okay? A straight up bet when you are the favorite to win, not given the points. Meaning this guy got hit hard. He had convinced himself the Patriots were going to easily handle, and that the Patriots were back on track after that impressive win a week ago against Buffalo. Not happening. How about the Titans? Remembering the Titans. How about this one particular Titan? A running back. Dynamic running back. Derrick Henry. First of all, he claims the NFL rushing title. Okay? Yesterday, he had 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, beating a Houston Texans team that did not play everybody. They were resting. I don't like that. Somehow, I don't know if it can ever be figured out. It really affected some games yesterday. But Derrick Henry is a beast. He's the greatest running back in the game today, and he's not getting any recognition. Next week against New England, he gets a chance. He gets a chance to show everybody on national TV, the Titans with Ryan Tannehill, who has had great success against the Patriots when he was a Miami Dolphin. I mean, I'm not saying great, outstanding, but he was successful in Miami, and he knows Miami. I mean, the Patriots. Very comfortable to going up there, New England, at that point. So Tannehill is going to be just fine. Derrick Henry is the key to the Titans' success. He's got a chance to show the world that he's the best running back in the league that nobody continues to talk about. I am. This guy's good. He's really good. And they got a good offensive line that is a beast of an offensive line. All right, I'm going to say hello to some of you in a moment, but give me a chance. I'm still going to go through more of what happened over the weekend. I want to give out some big props to Kirk Cousins. You know, thinking about Kirk Cousins, he's going to have to go to New Orleans and play Drew Brees. He's going to have to go toe-to-toe with Drew Brees. Can he do it? If he fails or he doesn't have a good game against a really good New Orleans team, people are going to point fingers back at Kirk Cousins for the big money he took and everything he's been done. He has done nothing in the past, but this season, the narratives on him was he can't lead a team to a 10-win season. Kirk Cousins can't lead a Vikings to the playoffs. Kirk Cousins doesn't show up in prime time. Those things may be true. Historically speaking, it has been true. Kirk Cousins can't beat a team with a winning record. Not true. But he's got to do it on the biggest stage right now for him in his career. Kirk Cousins, primetime TV has a chance to take down Breeze and the Saints that I have going to the Super Bowl and winning it all from back in August. And I still believe it. I believe they're the best team in the NFL, Drew Brees. They would have the best record in the NFL if Breeze didn't get hurt. And hey, Teddy Bridgewater did great. But let's talk about Kirk Cousins. Give him the credit. No matter what happens next week against New Orleans, give him credit for what he has done in Minnesota with the injuries they've had at running back, the offensive system that he now understands. He had a great year. He had his best year in the NFL. He's overcome that. He's got more growth, more to prove to be a big-time winner. But whatever happens next week, I'm not going to take shots at them. If they lose, could have a bad game. Something to learn about if that happens. But if he has a good game, or if they win, Kirk Cousins' money that the Vikings paid for starts to look better. See, unfortunately, in my predictions, I had the Vikings playing the Saints in the NFC Championship game back in August. Well, they are going to play each other, but it's in the wild card round, the first round, the wild card. A little too early for what I expected. I thought the Vikings would have won the division, but the Packers just kept winning, and the Packers are better than what people expected, and they got even better as the season went, and they never faulted. They stayed strong. They play as a team. The Vikings could not overcome that. They got close. Saints Vikings next week. All right, let's say hello to some people right now. I appreciate it, and I want to just say hello to Dawn. We got Felix. Hello, guys. Sally. We got Farah. Hello there. And Adrian in the house. Hello. Brenda in the house. Hello. Good to see the Dolphins take down the Patriots. Christopher in the house. Russell in the house. Hey, LeMaster in the house. Tonisha, Levon, Joe Madden, and Wally Cahill in the house. Good morning and happy holidays, everybody. Yes, indeed. We're right in the middle of it. New Year's Eve is on its way. We're going into another decade. Russell says there is dominance. Their dominance is over. Talking about the Patriots, their dominance is over. I believe it is too. I think that the aging of a quarterback, of a team, the weapons they need more weapons than ever before. It's starting to break, or it has broken, and they're just relying on the Patriots' sure experience, knowledge, and smarts to overcome some of the odds and the difficulties that this average talented team in New England, with a very weak schedule once again in this season's. I mean, think about it. Their first 8 games were really weak. Really weak. But they took care of business. Give them that much credit. They were all fooled by the New England Patriots' big win, crushing win over the Steelers in week 1. And they kept winning. And you just thought, but hey, it's not over yet. The Patriots got a shot there, Russell. They can still do something that they've never done before. So you can't count them out until they're out. But let's see what happens. All right. Edwin in the house. Todd in the house. Good morning. Russell says, Henry is a beast. Yes, he is, Henry. And I think Derrick Henry. Russell, you're talking about Derrick Henry, the running back out of Tennessee, who just single-handedly got them in the playoffs yesterday. Houston had nothing yesterday in the game. They weren't playing. They played hard, but they didn't have the talent level on the field. Tennessee is a good team. They've always been a good team for the last few years. Ryan Tannehill is a better quarterback than Mariota. Tannehill's not afraid of New England. Been there, done that. He's been successful. He's got a running back in Derrick Henry, who is the beast. And if New England cannot stop Derrick Henry in that running game, then Tannehill is going to have that play action. He's going to hit his tight ends. He's got some serious wide receivers in Tennessee. If you haven't paid attention, there are some serious wide receivers. A.J. Brown, Davis, just to name a couple. Brown has been, I mean, I don't know how anybody didn't pick him in the first round. He went late in the second round. Guy's good. He's been good the whole year. I don't know how New England's going to be able to cover their wide receivers, worrying about the running game of Tennessee. Now, New England's defense supposedly is good, but are they? They've been losing. They haven't finished strong in December. They didn't. The time the Patriots rise to the occasion is December, and they have not. They had one good game against Buffalo. But it's about January, and that's what they're hanging on to. And their road to the Super Bowl in Miami is a tough one. This is going to be tough. There's no break. There's no rest. There's no preparation to do all your analytics for your opponent's potential team in the playoffs, where the Patriots have been doing it for years, bye week, rested, prepared, ready to go, and pulling it off at home. Home. You get one home game against a tough opponent, Tennessee. Anthony Harris, Elaine, Trevor in the house, Trevor Henry. Who is that? Audra in the house. Thomas Sims in the house. Levon Barlow, good morning, Levon. Go Pack, go, Thomas Sims says. Wisconsin this morning. Freezing cold and Winnie. I get it. Cold here in Arizona, too. We got Todd, another Todd in the house. Hey, Todd. Albert today out in the house. We have Bob, Randy, Dino. I hope you enjoyed your game yesterday in L.A. Who was it? Marshall and Bob, Luna in the house. I got a Russell comment coming in again. He's on top of it today. I got to give him credit. Happy holidays and the family. Yes, to you too, Russell. And Angel in the house. Appreciate you coming in, guys. Don't know if I missed anybody at the top of my list of saying hi to people, but I see you. I love you guys. We got a couple more days left in 2019. Make it go well. All right, let's move on to the next topics. All right, got your comments in. Bring your comments in, folks. I want to hear about what you think about what happened over the 2019 season. Your college football, what do you got about college football? The playoffs, what happened? The national championship game a week from today, right? In New Orleans, LSU and Clemson. Talk about that. Bring it to me. All right, let's get back to the NFL here. A developing story. This is going to hurt the Chiefs. They get a bye week. They believe they've suffered a big blow to their secondary, their safety. They have a decent defense in Kansas City. They rely strongly on their offense that really puts up a lot of points, and they keep coming. But their defense needs all their bodies. Everybody needs to be playing. They took a big hit. Juan Thornhill, their safety, believed to have suffered a knee injury, season-ending knee injury. Now, they get a bye week. They get it prepared. And just in case whoever's going to replace them, they have time to prepare to overcompensate or compensate for that loss. Done for the year. Potentially, Juan Thornhill it does look like it. They're just going to do the MRI and just figure it out. Another big story coming out of Seattle. Last night's game, what a game. Seattle and the 49ers division title, number one seed on the line and bye week on the line, everything. Loser goes to the wild card game on the road, just like that, after a great season. The Seattle Seahawks take a big blow again. They're getting beat up on injuries, just like San Francisco got beat up, but the wrong time. Linebacker Kendricks of Seattle is believed to be done for the year. Last night tore his ACL. Not good. Not good at all. That defense will try to prepare for itself next week in a big game, wild card game, but a tough blow for Seattle. Now, the Giants fire Pat Shurmur after 2 losing seasons. Everybody thought this was a great match. Offensive minded, everything he did as an assistant coach or a coordinator, this is his time to shine. Couldn't do it in New York. Maybe another place, another time, he can do a better job as a head coach, but not with the Giants. He is gone. The Giants are now looking for their new coach. So is the Cleveland Browns. Freddie Kitchens is gone. They put it all on Freddie Kitchens. But I believe a lot has to do with who? The general manager of the Cleveland Browns, putting together a team with all this talent and hyping it up so much that it never meshed. And you did draft Baker Mayfield, who can be a decent quarterback with the right system, the right team, he's got a running game. He's got 2 great running backs, 2 great wide receivers, an offensive line that is not good in Cleveland. Cleveland's time wasn't this year. It still may be coming if they keep everybody together and happy. But Kitchens is gone. Another coach gone. Washington Redskins, they fired their coach during the season. Now they're looking. There's a lot of rumors that Rivera is on his way to Washington, but let's hold and tap the brakes. Carolina is looking for their head coach to replace Rivera. So now we know there's more coaching positions out there. The Dallas Cowboys may be firing Jason Garrett. Could be another job opening. So there's a lot of jobs out there. And if there's a head coach looking for a big job on a big team in the NFL, there are options out there. And where do these teams look? So there's some good names out there. The former Packer coaches out there. Rivera's out there. Urban Meyer's out there. I don't know if Urban Meyer is even an NFL coach. I don't know. All right. For the Cowboys, they're going to wait. But they're not going to wait too long. It's unlikely, the headlines is, to make decision on Jason Garrett's head coaching position. They're going to wait it out. Probably a big decision is going to happen the next 24 hours. Or it may have happened already if they refresh everything and get my update. But I will say, the Cowboys have in mind who they want on their list. And if they have not gotten an agreement yet on behind closed doors, they're not going to fire Jason Garrett. They're not going to make a deal with a new head coach knowing who's their next coach. They will not fire Jason Garrett until they have their guy, or Jason Garrett will remain with them. But unlikely they're going to wait too long. They're going to either keep him or it's done. Got to move on fast. You got to move fast getting your head coach. If you take your time and you wait it out, you lose out on the best of the best, or you're rolling the dice, and then you have to what? You get your head coach, right? You get your head coach, and then what happens? Then you got to build your staff. Then you got to rebuild your coaching staff and your scout team, or whatever it is. And if you are slow and late getting to that part of your off season, then evaluating college talent is hurting. It's going to hurt you. You got to get it early, get out, get set, and go for next year. That's why getting your head coach is vital right now or early. You don't want to wait. But you got to make a good decision, because even if you make a quick decision, doesn't mean it's a good one. All right, more conversation out there that Carolina is looking at McDaniels. So is Cleveland looking at McDaniels for the head coaching job in Cleveland. Urban Meyer's name is being mentioned in Cleveland. Giants are keeping their general manager, Gettleman, after firing Shermer. Okay, and anymore. I'm going to give you one more refresh on the update page and see what happens. I don't know if anything's come through, because these things can happen really fast on Monday. All right. Yeah, so Urban Meyer is being heavily considered by the Cleveland. Urban Meyer trying to go back to Cleveland or Ohio. The relationship for that is a good marketing thing, but does he want to go there with Baker Mayfield? Let's find out. Broncos are excited. They won again. They were 4-1 with their rookie quarterback. Von Miller is excited about next year. They finished strong, and that was the key in December. Finish strong if you're not going to the playoffs. And if you have a chance for the playoffs, you have to finish strong to get in. The Titans finished strong and got in. The Philadelphia Eagles finished strong and they got in. The Cowboys did not. Even if they won yesterday, blowing out the Redskins, it was a little too late. They didn't finish strong enough. Give credit to the Eagles that struggled with injuries and trying to find their identity. Carson Wentz trying to find his groove all year long. The Eagles are priming themselves for the playoff run. They didn't have Ertz yesterday, their tight end. Don't know if he's ready next week in the playoff game, the wild card game. But for the Eagles to get this to this point and be at their best at the right time, and they could still be better when Ertz, their tight end, gets back. Carson Wentz, his game has improved greatly. Now remember, Wentz has had injuries for the last couple of years, and getting him into mold has been a big deal. Just like Garoppolo in San Francisco. Not a lot of starts over the last few years, but this season was a developing, growing, getting into the groove, understanding who you are as a quarterback again, and knowing what you can and cannot do. Carson Wentz has the Eagles primed for an upset in the first round. Okay? And I know I'm not. Hey, the Eagles are playing better football. Now, they played the Giants yesterday, and the Giants gave it their all. And they still showed why the Eagles have holes. But if Carson Wentz elevates his game even more, then they have a good chance for an upset. If not, Carson Wentz reminds me of Phil Simms of the Giants way back into the 80s. Coming from a small school in college, and you're wondering why you're taking a guy from a small school in college that put up good numbers in college, but his very accurate thrower. Phil Simms won a Super Bowl, but he took a beating in his first few years as a Giant quarterback, making wrong throws, interceptions, a lot like what you saw Carson Wentz. But they still have the same, let's say, physicality, the same style of throwing, the same body movement. Phil Simms and Carson Wentz. I see the identity as being the same. They're good quarterbacks. Phil Simms was a great quarterback. He turned into a great quarterback. Carson Wentz, to me, could get to that level with the right team around him. Now, this is not a great Eagle team, and this is not a Super Bowl talented team. But a quarterback hot at the right time could do some magical stuff. This may be an Eagle team with Carson Wentz because it took the Giants with Phil Simms a few years to get past some of the big teams like the Niners, right? There were some big games against the Bears with Phil Simms there. Carson Wentz is in the playoffs, something that he was been trying to get to. Give him a lot of credit, Phil Simms, for Carson Wentz to get into the playoffs, just like Kirk Cousins. Quarterbacks that nobody was believing in, laughing at this season are in the playoffs. And they did not go in with this they did it their way. They made big throws. Big throws. More comments coming in. I appreciate it. A lot of comments coming in. I appreciate it. Danny in the house. Michael in the house. Myers has ties with the Cleveland management. That's why he may be going to Cleveland. That's very possible, Russell. Cecilia in the house. We got Nikki in the house. We have Betsy in the house. And Dino, what do you got, Dino? Larry Fitzgerald. Unsure if Bidwell, Keim, and Kingsbury want him back. Are you kidding me? Who's saying that? Brandon Brooks for the Eagles is done for the year. Excuse me. Good report there, Russell. This is the thing that's coming out. So the Eagles, tough luck with their injury report there. They still get hurt with injuries. Andy McClure in the house, Michelle in the house, Denise in the house. All right, Tiana in the house, Michael in the house. All right, I'm going to move on. Going Got to move on. I got a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. If you want to catch me on YouTube right now, Hanna Time, it's going live right there. Also here on Facebook Live. All right, so we got the injury report there. How about this story? The Chicago Bears. How about the Chicago Bears? Did you realize that the Chicago Bears are the only team in the NFL without a 4,000-yard passing yard quarterback? Yes, right. McMahon didn't do it. Okay. A lot of years. Chicago Bear history. One of the oldest in the NFL. And in today's era of quarterback happy, offense happy, statistical happy NFL offensive wise, the Bears have yet to reach with a quarterback. They're the only current franchise in the NFL history never to have a 4,000-yard passer. Maybe that's the reason why they struggled this year too. That's got to change. But thinking and talking about quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers, after 16 seasons with the Chargers, San Diego and Los Angeles, may be done. At least with the Chargers. But the Chargers are going to have to find a quarterback in the draft or somewhere to fill in. If not, Phillip Rivers will get a one-year deal with the Chargers. The Chargers will draft a quarterback, hopefully somebody they can develop behind Phillip Rivers for one more year. It was very emotional post-game press conference yesterday for the Chargers. Phillip Rivers having to talk to the media maybe for the last time as an NFL quarterback. It's sad to see him go. He was a competitor. He was a great Charger. The greatest Charger quarterback in their history, even better than Dan Fouts. That's right. I truly believe that. Even better than Stan Humphries, who got to a Super Bowl, right? Was it Humphries? Yeah. Who got to him a Super Bowl. That's a big deal. That's a big, big era ending with the Chargers organization. Phillip Rivers' emotional press conference yesterday. Maybe somebody picks up a one-year deal on him and he goes somewhere else. Maybe he goes back home to North Carolina, where they may need a quarterback for one more year. The Carolina Panthers, depending on who it is. Maybe McDaniels goes to Carolina and he goes to Phillip Rivers, goes, hey, I need you for 1 year. Can you give me one more year? Maybe 2 years, depending how long you want to play. I can get you somewhere. I have a system that I did with Tom Brady that we can do here in Carolina. I got a great running back in McCaffrey. We can do some special stuff with that offense. Do you want to go back home to North Carolina where you played college, Phillip Rivers? Just thinking. Possibility is out there. All right. Talking some more here. All right. How about another quarterback? You know, when Bruce Arians took over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you had to understand his history with quarterbacks. He's elevated every quarterback that has been under his tutelage, either as a coordinator or a head coach. Ben Roethlisberger's game, boom, to the sky. Andrew Luck, boom, to the sky when he's over in Indianapolis with the Colts, right? How about those backup quarterbacks that he had in Indianapolis or in Arizona with all those injuries at quarterback? He also had Carson Palmer, whose game was average and looking for a new beginning. Carson Palmer and Bruce Arians was magic. Carson had his best years in Arizona. Bruce Arians. Jameis Winston. With all the hype with him as the big pick 5 years ago, with all the promise and leadership that he does carry and talent, still can't get away from the interception. A lot of great quarterbacks have had that problem. Bruce Arians has not solved the INT issue for Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston belongs in a 30-30 club. 30 touchdown passes. That is tremendous. 30 touchdown passes. Fantastic. But he threw 30 interceptions, giving the ball back. That's got to get cut in half for this guy to be a legitimate starting quarterback every Sunday in the NFL. But under Bruce Arians, Winston's game has elevated. Yes, I know the interceptions are there, but look at this statistic that goes beyond what the negatives were. Jameis Winston is one of the very few quarterbacks in NFL history. Very few. Very few. Okay? And that is this. He has thrown for 5,000 yards. 5,000 yards in this season. He has never even seen that before. And in that category, and this is a great category, and I don't know if he's ever going to match the names I'm about to give you. Jameis Winston has matched Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Mahomes, Drew Brees, who's done it 5 times. 5 times. Matthew Stafford, who I love as a quarterback. He's just stuck in Detroit. For whatever reason, can't get into the playoffs. But all those guys are Hall of Famers. I believe Stafford's, when his day is over, his numbers would be considered as a candidate for the Hall of Fame because he's still putting up numbers. Dan Marino is also on this list. That Jameis Winston, who has thrown 30 interceptions, but 30 touchdown passes and 5,000 passing yards under the tutelage and guidance of Bruce Arians, I believe there's something special there, and somehow he's got to eliminate it. Maybe it doesn't click. Maybe they give him a 1-year deal. Because I don't know where the Buccaneers go from here. They're going to have to draft a quarterback for insurance. Maybe they go out and get Phillip Rivers as a backup just in case. You know, maybe something like that. Maybe Eli Manning goes down to Tampa as a backup. Or does Eli Manning retire as a New York Giant and moves on? A veteran quarterback behind Jameis Winston would be beneficial for the Buccaneers next year. If they try to get him to a 1 or 2 year deal. Winston's going to try to get a 3-year deal somewhere. Nobody's going to give him a 5-year deal because they're afraid of that interception. And there's no guarantee he's going to put up those kind of numbers, 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns somewhere else without Bruce Arians. So you got to think about that a little bit. But let's go back to Dan Marino. Dan Marino did this in the 1980s, right? Dan Marino was way ahead of his time. When I say the greatest quarterback of all time, not because he won Super Bowls, because that's a team effort. And there's a lot of games that Tom Brady did not play well in Super Bowls, like last year when they won it. He was horrible, but he got a ring, and everybody talks about it. But Dan Marino did something that all these guys have been doing in the last 10 years, right? 5,000 yards, 5,000 yards, 5,000 yards throwing, and touchdown passes everywhere. They're all breaking Dan Marino records, but Dan did it decades ago. Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback in the NFL history. He has done everything that they're doing today in a different era. I can only imagine, like other great quarterbacks, but with Dan Marino, what he will be doing today in today's game because he did it decades ago. It would, to me, mind-boggling. So, Big Ben, Mahomes, Stafford, Brady, Breeze, Peyton Manning, and now Jameis Winston joining Dan Marino, who was the first one to go 5,000 yards passing in a season. Jameis Winston, it's kind of mind-boggling, but are you surprised with Bruce Arians there? I'm not. I'm not surprised at all. All right. You know what? And good for Jameis Winston, man. The guy has taken a lot of heat. And I know it was an ugly game for him throwing the interception in overtime that lost the game. But overall, looking back, Winston had his best year, and it's kind of hard to say, but he did. There's a lot more promise to him. And maybe, just like Kirk Cousins, who took a lot of heat in Washington and got tore up, and he said goodbye to Washington, got to Minnesota, and it all fell apart in his year one in Minnesota. But in year two, it all happened for him. The magic happened for Kirk Cousins. We don't know if Kirk Cousins is going to be anything other than maybe a little bit better or just what he is now. But he's good enough to get to the playoffs. He's good enough to lead a team or be a quarterback that gets to the playoffs. He has that done. Jameis Winston, trying to correlate that, does he have the path and the patience of waiting to get to that next level of a playoff? There's a lot of talent in Tampa, and they're going to get more talent with their draft picks. They got a few free agents, but let's see what happens. They may not go with Jameis Winston if they get the right quarterback. But, man, it's going to be a hard thing for Bruce Arians to take over a rookie quarterback, not a veteran quarterback. Bruce Arians has yet to take over a rookie quarterback and build him up. And does the Buccaneers have time to worry about that if it doesn't go fast enough with all that young talent that your window is really kind of now for Tampa with all that talent? They got to get it to the next level. Comments coming in. More comments coming in. All right. Choo-choo in the house. Gonna kill it today. We got Jose in the house. We got Glenn Anderson. Hey, Glenn, I hope you had a good holiday week. We were thinking about you. Michael Butler in the house. Who else we got going here? Roger in the house. Hey, Roger. How you doing, Kincaid? Lucy in the house. She's in the sky smiling. Hey, is that Henry? Hey, Henry, how are we doing there? Good morning, guys. Holly in the house. And we got Betty Jean Nogales in the house. All right. Let's keep moving along. I got more sports talk for you. Antonio Brown blew away the Saints. Did you know that Antonio Brown is this close, or being on the New Orleans Saints? The Saints want Antonio Brown for the playoff game next week. And they're trying to push the NFL to get clearance of this exempt rule, or this exempt, so he can play for the Saints. Antonio Brown blew away the Saints in his workout. They were blown up. Why not? The guy does catch footballs, and he's got great footwork. He is a great wide receiver. I do care about his off-the-field issues, but when it comes to the game itself, to me, he was the best wide receiver in the game. He caught everything and anything, even in closed windows, like windows you couldn't even imagine, to get your feet down and catch a ball. He did it. And with Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, and you got running game going on there and a tight end situation, Antonio Brown and that offense would be magical. Pay attention to this report. If it goes down, I'll check right now. Maybe the NFL will make a decision. I don't know if they have to make a decision for the Saints, but I would say that the Saints are looking for answers right now. The Saints need answers right now from the NFL to get him ready. Get him ready. Eli Manning has spoken. Eli Manning has spoken for the New York Giants and his future with the Giants and his career moving on without a contract. Eli Manning says everything's an option in his future, but backing up quarterback. He wants to start. Where can he start? Where can he go? Remember when I talked about this back during the season? Does Eli go to the Colts? Because they're not quite satisfied with Brissett. I'm just saying, it'll be kind of cool. Does he go to Carolina? Where does he go to start in the NFL, Eli Manning? The options as a starting quarterback appear to be limited for Eli Manning. They won't take him in Chicago because they have a young quarterback that still needs development. And 1 year with Eli doesn't guarantee anything other than you don't know what you're going to get as an old quarterback. Starting. Tampa Bay is an option if they don't want Winston anymore, or they don't want to pay him the money that he's going to ask. That's the option. Jacksonville Jaguars, they have Nick Foles. They're set. I mean, you can go down the list of teams. There's not a lot of options. Pittsburgh has Ben coming back next year. Cleveland's set. Cincinnati's going to get their quarterback. Okay. Baltimore's Minnesota, right? Detroit, Green Bay, right? The Chargers could be the Chargers, the team that drafted Eli Manning and traded him to the New York Giants for Phillip Rivers, who Phillip Rivers was drafted by the Giants in that draft with Ben Roethlisberger. Could Eli go to Los Angeles and be a starter for the Chargers, who they really don't have a quarterback yet? I mean, how ironic would that be? You never know. I'm sure I missed a couple of teams out there that potentially could be a landing spot for Eli, but there's not many. I think the Chargers is one if Phillip Rivers doesn't get a 1-year deal. Carolina is another spot. It's like Phillip Rivers and Eli will be battling out as veteran quarterbacks from the same draft, being traded for each other, or going to be looking for a starting job next year somewhere else. Pretty ironic, don't you think? All right. No more big news coming in other than the late news from Eli Manning as we're waiting this out. More comments coming in. I appreciate it. Dino, good morning from LA, he says. He's at the, I believe he was at the Rams Cardinal game yesterday. All right, let's get it on here. Lucy says hello. Christopher says hello. Lorraine. We got Tina in the house. All right, Isaac. Vinia in the house. Betty G in the house. I gotcha. All righty. All right, let's move on to the next topic here as we're cruising along, okay? The NFL has seen a very high level of quarterback sacks this past NFL season. Number one on the list, Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, 1 and 2. Russell Wilson's in the playoffs. Kyler Murray, a rookie, is not. Kyler Murray has been sacked the most in the NFL. But there is some ironic talking points about Murray and Wilson. They're very similar in their abilities, their style. Murray looks after or looks out and looks towards Russell Wilson for his style of play, where they will take the sack and not throw the interception or protect the ball, eliminating as many turnovers as possible. So they get sacked more. That's ironic that these two quarterbacks are there. Jameis Winston is third on the list. Kyle Allen, Deshaun Watson, very surprising. Matt Ryan, Josh Allen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Andy Dalton, and the Eagles' Carson Wentz. Those are your top 10 quarterbacks getting sacked. Now, they all need offensive line help. They all can get better, but at the same time, quarterback decision-making is ideal. Out of all those players that I've mentioned, only Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, and Carson Wentz are in the playoffs. All right? There you have it. Kyler Murray, it's not his fault in a lot of ways. But the draft order for 2020, the top 20 draft picks, are you ready? Here we go. Bengals number 1. Redskins number 2. Lions number 3. Giants number 4. Dolphins number 5. Chargers number 6. Panthers number 7. Cardinals number 8. Jaguars number 9. Then the Browns at 10. The Jets are at 11. The Raiders are at 12. The Colts are at 13. The Bucks at 14. The Broncos, who at one point were in the top 5, are all the way back in 15. The Falcons, another team that was all the way up near the top 5, all the way back at 16. The Buccaneers, another team that was all the way up high near a top 5 pick, down at 14. The Jets were in a top 5 pick just a couple of weeks ago, are at 11. Crazy. Crazy as it may be. The Falcons are at 16. Okay, the Falcons are at 16. Then you have the Cowboys at 17. Think about the Cowboys. They were supposed to win their division. They were supposed to go to the Super Bowl, right? Everybody, not everybody, saying that. But they're at 17. Miami, they pick again through the trade with the Steelers, who the Steelers got Minkah Fitzpatrick, which is a really number 1 draft pick anyway, and probably a top 10 pick in any draft, or top 5, the way you look at Minkah Fitzpatrick and what he's done to that Steeler, helping them to become a dominant defense. Well worth the trade. For Miami, great opportunity to rebuild with 2 first-round picks. Oakland gets their pick via the Chicago Bears trade with Khalil Mack at 19. And the Jacksonville Jaguars will get the Los Angeles Rams pick for the Jalen Ramsey trade this past season. Now, it's a great trade for the Rams. They got Ramsey. Just like the Steelers, that's worth trading away your number 1 pick. It really is. Jacksonville gets a second pick in the first round, along with Oakland and Miami. Not bad. Everything else will play out through the playoffs, who wins and who loses the rest of the way, okay? From 21 to 32, remaining teams ranked in the playoffs, okay? All right. Gotta say hi. People still coming in. Choo Choo says, Cardinals need to trade David Johnson. Let's talk about the Cardinals here. They got a lot of, I would say, a lot of holes to fill, right? I have a statistical board up about the Cardinals who are struggling in many categories. Many categories. The only one category they have done well in is running the football. Kyler Murray's legs helped out. Drake having some great games with the Cardinals. Early on, David Johnson had a couple really good games running the football. You had that one big explosive game by Edmonds. Who is he now, right? Everybody got excited. See, you can't get excited about one game or 2 games. It has to be by the body of work. And the Cardinals have been playing off of a few games. They don't know who they are next year yet. They act like it. They talk like it. Do you know, if you're a Cardinal fan, do you actually know who your favorite, oh, not even that. Who are the Cardinals for 2020? It's a big, big decision-making season, off-season for the Cardinals. starting with Larry Fitzgerald. They want him back. Larry Fitzgerald says he'll take his time. He'll talk to the Cardinals owner, Michael Bidwell, before deciding on his playing future. He still wants to play, it seems like. But there seems to be maybe somewhere else. He says, no way. I'm a Cardinal for life. But let's see what happens. I think Michael Bidwell will put out some money to keep the iconic organization's best iconic player in their history to be in a Cardinal uniform one more year, at least again, and continue to break records chasing Jerry Rice. And that means a lot for an organization to have a player like Larry Fitzgerald making plays, catching the football at a high level, because he did. He was averaging 5 catches a game. But also to do what? Break records and keep that name of Cardinals in the news, elevate, keep the fan base happy, because it's going to be a tough couple of years, folks. I know you're excited in Arizona about your Cardinals because of what? You had a couple of wins in December, and you finished somewhat strong, okay? But there are real issues there. And a lot of the players that you see on today's roster are not going to be there next year. And who replaces them has been the merry-go-round for the last 5 years with Steve Keim as your general manager. And I'm tired talking about how you think and believe and you were excited about your draft picks and all that stuff, that personally I was attacked. I was attacked because I was told I was being negative, and I kept saying, you're getting guys that you can get in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, but you're drafting them in the 2nd round. When you have guys like Deebo, when you have guys like A.J. Brown and other better wide receivers that you have drafted the last 2 years in the 2nd round or the third round, what are you doing? You better not draft a wide receiver. Don't do it. You can find wide receivers late in the draft. Just make sure he knows how to catch a football. Do you realize Isabella is nothing more than a backup to a 3rd-string wide receiver? What happened to the other guy, Keyshawn Johnson? Where is he? From 2 years, like, what happened to that guy that you drafted? Do not bank on the fact that you're excited about next year. Just look forward to a season, hope for the best, but you're ranked on defense 22nd, 31, 30, on all these defensive categories. You are one of the worst defenses in the NFL. You have major holes. You gotta have a tremendous draft. You got to hit on 3 big-time, game-changing players in the NFL from the college draft. You can't go any more. You can't have anything less than that. For the last few years, 1 game-changing would be great. We're still wondering about Kyler Murray. There's an upside, there's stability, but no guarantee that he's going to bring you to the next level. You got to have talent around you. We have a lot of talent quarterbacks that never had a great team around them. Okay? He's not Dan Marino with a weak defense every year after his great Super Bowls and championship runs that he had without winning a Super Bowl. But Kyler Murray is not going to carry your team. You're not going to be able to put the game on his back. That's my opinion. And I strongly feel good about that. Kyler Murray may get a little bit better, but when it comes down to it, he's never going to be the elite that you're thinking. But can he win a Super Bowl? Yes. With a great team around him or a better talented team. They don't have that in Arizona. Their offensive line's going to get I'll tell you what, if they keep the offensive line, they made a mistake. They got to go get a 10-year dominant offensive lineman. They have to. When is enough in Arizona? Oh, but we need a wide receiver. Get that in the 5th and 6th round. Go after your big boys at the line of scrimmage. Go get some defensive linemen. Go get some offensive linemen. And let's play some smash football. Because in the NFL, you're going to win and die with your offensive line and your defensive line. Because if you can't take care of the first line of defense and the first line of offense, which is your line, then everything else doesn't go well. It's a battle. You got to protect the quarterback, give him time to throw, and you got to run the ball, right? You don't have that kind of talent on the offensive line. They did an adequate job with an offense that was a quick throwing offense that helped eliminate or helped the weak side, helped the vulnerability of an offensive line by having quick throws and moving the ball, not giving defenses enough time to what? Get to the quarterback, break through the offensive line. Because after like 2 or 3 seconds, the Cardinals offensive line can't hold itself. Can't do it. They're not that good. But the quarterback and the offensive system is designed and helps that offensive line. Not that it was built around for that reason, but it helped. And it worked for the most part. And if it goes well, it looks great. But once the defenses of their opponents picked up on how the Cardinals play ball and how they move the ball, they realized this is nothing different. They took away a lot of throws. They eliminated a lot of things. And all of a sudden, Murray is on the run, taking sacks, taking hits, throwing the ball. Interceptions were coming, and things changed. And that's a problem in Arizona. If you don't get the help for this young quarterback who can't see over the line of scrimmage, because he can't step up in the pocket unless it's wide open. If it's not wide open, he has to go backwards. If he goes to the sides, he's in trouble because he cannot outrun defensive linemen. Get that through your brain. He does not outrun anybody. He's quick enough to get away and maybe pick up a big play, but he doesn't outrun anybody. So many times he has got out of the pocket trying to take it upfield or create, and he gets run down, throws a bad pass, or he gets smashed. Or he runs backwards, losing 15 yards. He has a problem stepping up in the pocket. He's a small quarterback. He has to learn how to be a different quarterback, and he knows what it is. But if your offensive line cannot protect him and open up those passing lanes for him with good protection, he's going to struggle and continue to struggle, and you're going to continue to get the same Kyler Murray every game until that offensive line is dominant. If Kyler Murray is your future, and I know you need help on defense, go get 2 offensive linemen right away. There's nothing wrong with that. It is the most viable for the future of the Arizona Cardinals to get protection for your future that you believe in now. It's okay to go get a first-round offensive lineman draft pick. It's okay to go get another one in the second round. Would you be upset with that? No, you shouldn't. Because if they both pan out, like they did with the Colts last season, you change your franchise forever on offense for the better. If you hit on one of them, greatness, dominance, you did great. Got to go for it. I'm leaning that way for the Arizona Cardinals to go after offensive linemen 1 and 2 in their draft picks. Then go for defense 3 and 4. Then maybe go for a wide receiver. But you got to do your homework. You got to have a good scout team. You have to. I mean, look at the guy that the Steelers got in the 6th round, Johnson. He's better than anything the Cardinals got in draft picks. You know what? He's even better than Christian Kirk. He's better than Christian Kirk. He's better than that other Johnson on their team. He's better than Isabella. But there's so many teams that have drafted wide receivers that are much better with the young talent wide receivers the Cardinals have. Do not draft a wide receiver until it's like the 5th round or 6th round. And make sure you do your homework. It's okay. It's okay. Even if you don't get one, that may not turn out to be anything special. You're fine. You got an offensive line. You got a running back that you got to sign still. If not, you have David Johnson under contract. You still may have Larry Fitzgerald. That helps. Christian Kirk will do his role and have a part in the offense. And you worry about year 2 now, or 2021, and you build from the inside out, not the outside in. Right? Every time we go on the outside looking in, nothing ever goes well. You can look in the mirror and go, I am pretty, I can do all these beautiful things, but what's on the inside? Right? Cold, shallow, nothing, no heart, right? Nothing. And the Cardinals still have that same problem the last few years now. I still believe Bruce Arians kept that team together. He brought the body, the soul, the spirit within. I know they're trying. I know every coach wants and does their way of doing that. But when you draft talent from the outside going in, like you drafted Mason Cole, a nice young offensive lineman, but he wasn't anything. He was not going to be an all-pro. Understand where this has all gone to? So get excited like everybody else does about your next season and look forward and then just hope everything works out. But to think that you're going to win 10 games next year, which I was watching again, Cardinal fans believing you're going to, because the Niners did it, the Seattle, but they do it better than you, and they have better people in the front office getting better talent, and that's it. Bottom line, until the Cardinals can prove everybody wrong, this is going to continue to be the same dialogue, the same bullet points, the same talking points about the Cardinals' future. And I told you already, this is a 3-year rebuild, and they got to start doing it within, build within, and then out. So by the year 2022, maybe, they are ready. They are ready to compete at the highest level. They may compete and have fun games and be around 500 for the next year or two. They may just win 5 games again, and they may just win 3. You just don't know who this team is. Everybody else has figured it out. Not everybody else, but you know what I'm talking about. Playoff teams, the teams that you think we can be that. Yes, you can be those teams that flip it and turn it around. But do you trust what they've been doing in the front office? Just saying. Just saying. Comments coming in. Chris Farina. Hey, Chris Farina. He's a Steeler fan. Big Steeler fan. From Pittsburgh. Why not? Is that Jody? Good morning, Jody. Choo Choo says, gritty. Todd says, constantly attacked. I know, Todd, you get attacked because you're not with the you're looking at it on the negative side, which is fine. Okay? And a lot of times you're right on in a lot of ways. But think about the positive things. The positive things with your Arizona Cardinals, who he is talking about, is what? Wow, not a lot. Not a lot. Not a lot. Quarterback, future, all right, got a chance. Okay? Budda Baker, Chandler Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, Patrick Peterson, not a bad team to build around. The fear with the Arizona Cardinals is when they turn it around, when they turn it around, is Larry Fitzgerald there? Is Patrick Peterson there? Is Chandler Jones there? Is David Johnson there? Is Buda Baker there? See, the big problem with the Cardinals is their best players looking towards the future may not be there because of contracts, trading away because they need more contracts or more talent or more draft picks. See, that is a very gray spot for me with the Arizona Cardinals. I don't see those big names being there in a couple of years when they probably should be turning it around, which is probably or maybe or they better be turning it around at that point. They better be. Okay? Because if they're not, then all that great talent is gone, and you never replaced them, you never replaced them. Byron Murphy is not your future cornerback. He's going to have a role. He's not going to be your Patrick Peterson. That's not happening. He'll be a decent cornerback, nickelback, dime, secondary guy. There's a lot of them in the NFL. Can he get better? He is what he is. There's always a potential to get a little bit better, but he's never going to be, because you are who you are now. We know who he is. We know who Christian Kirk is. Can make some big plays, but is he ever going to go to the next level? Christian Kirk has a chance to do more because of the offense. That is true. I got to wet my whistle. Thanks for that. All right, let's move on. All right, so before I get into college football, I got a lot of college football as I'm live on YouTube, live on Facebook, here on Global Sports Broadcasting Network. This is Hanna Time. I'm the host, Cornelius Brad Hanna. All right, before we get into the LSU Clemson championship game, let's get into this. Who was the best number one draft pick this decade? Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, Clowney, Fisher. There's a Fisher in there. Who is he? Where is he? Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Sam Bradford. Bradford's out of the league. Cam Newton may be looking for a team next year or not. Who knows where he ends up? Andrew Luck retired. Fisher, who is he? Clowney, battling in Seattle. Not a bad career. Pretty good. Did some good things in Houston and in Seattle. Jameis Winston had his best year this season, but everything else not good. Jared Goff, rookie year was a disaster, had a couple of great years, and then this year took a step back. Myles Garrett was having, well, he may be the best in the decade, number one pick overall in the NFL draft. Unfortunately, with his helmet throwing incident, puts a big dark side to it. But for his play on the field, Myles Garrett is the best number one draft pick in the decade from 2010 to 2019. Baker Mayfield didn't happen for 2 years. Kyler Murray, nice start, but didn't blow us away. Maybe more time he could have been that guy. But by looking at it, Myles Garrett is the best number one draft pick overall the last 10 years as we leave the decade of 2010 to 2019. What do you want to call it? The teens, the O's, whatever. But the 20s, the roaring 20s, .2 has arrived, or .3. Right? Can we go that far? Something like that. All right. All right. There you have that part of it. All right. Let's one more thing about the NFL, and then we go into college football. Okay. And I want to talk about another thing about the decade of 2010 to 2019. The best sports comeback of the decade. Who is it? From remembering the 2010s. The 2010s. Was it the LeBron James Cleveland Cavaliers comeback against the Golden State Warriors down 3-1 to the dominating, elite, great Golden State Warriors and winning 3 straight and winning in 7 games? Was it the Chicago Cubs down 3-1 to the Cleveland Indians and winning their first World Series well over 100 years? Was it the Tom Brady Super Bowl Patriots comeback over the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl down 28-3 and coming all the way back? Or was it the Philadelphia Flyers down 3-0 in the playoffs and roaring back to complete 4 straight and winning the series? Out of those 4, from the 4 major sports, basketball, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the NFL, and the National Hockey League, which one was the biggest and the best comeback of the decade? I'm going to give you my rank out of those 4. At number 4 was the Philadelphia Flyers. That was fantastic. But comebacks in hockey are common. 3-1, not as common as, the way I put it, but it happens more than any other sport. But they pulled off 4 straight. At number 2, I'm going to put the New England Patriots. Even though it was the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history, I also thought it was the worst and the most choked Super Bowl by an Atlanta team that easily could have won that game by just running the football and running out the clock, especially at the end of the game, and kept on giving Tom Brady that chance to finish the comeback in overtime. Great win, great comeback, the only great Super Bowl victory that the Patriots, in my eyes, really had under Tom Brady. That was it, to do that. Number 2 comes down to the Cubs or the Cleveland Cavaliers. 2 cities that struggle with championships. 2 cities that deal with losing too much. And especially if you're the Cubs that have not won a World Series over 100 years. And the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James and losing championships, having a chance to do it again and down 3-1 to the great Golden State Warrior team that looked impossible to beat and impossible to lose 3 straight to a Cavalier team that was clearly outmatched. But other than the scoreboard, it would happen. But the Chicago Cubs, dealing with history, dealing with the black cat, the darkness, the losing. Always next year, Harry Carey. Could they come back down 3-1? Both teams in beautiful fashion to resurrect or to destroy any dark, choking, losing history in their franchises, pulled off the miracle. Now, the Cubs played against the Cleveland Indians, but had to do it in Cleveland twice, which was tough. They got the rain delay break of all breaks that seemed to change everything about that pitching. But it was a crazy World Series. Fantastic. And they pulled it off. The beloved Cubs finally won a World Series. So at number 2 out of the top 4 best comebacks of the decade, the Chicago Cubs are number 2, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, with that mountain of an obstacle with lesser talent, defeating the Golden State Warriors after being down 3 games to 1, and having to do it in Golden State, was impossible in a lot of people's minds. They all were great comebacks, and they all rivaled the Cleveland Cavaliers. But when you put it in perspective and the uphill battle to overcome that and to win it all, the Cavaliers are the best and had the best comeback of the 2010s, the decade of the 2010s. You can debate that. You can talk about it. Maybe there's something else out there that you want to throw in there. That's beautiful. But I believe that Cavalier comeback was pretty special. That was crazy. Nobody saw that coming. In baseball, you got one pitch at a time, and things in baseball, it's never over until the last pitch. In basketball, you have the clock. And when time runs out, it's over. And to me, that also was a deciding factor about the greatest comeback of the past decade and why the Cavaliers will own that. Any comments? Love to hear it. Choo Choo says, you're killing me. That's an oxymoronic statement, bro. But can't get a Super Bowl. Pass that to me. I need a drag too. We'll be on the same level. Just kidding. All right. Cliff Kingsbury, I say here, has him doing it all like Arians did with David Johnson. Maybe so. I like Kingsbury as your coach in Arizona. All right. Big old choo-choo. I got that. I'm not down on Kingsbury. They just need more talent, more support, and we'll see what happens. Okay, more comments coming in. I got you, Todd. Lucy says, keep that to your brain. All right, I hear that one. What else we got here? Okay, more comments. Let's talk about the national championship game. What a weekend in college football. What a fantastic weekend for the Final Four. We had one in Atlanta with LSU and Oklahoma. That was a blowout. Oklahoma got destroyed. It was over by the first quarter. Goodbye. And then our eyes took place to Arizona, the Fiesta Bowl, where Clemson and Ohio State, the defending champions Clemson, up against the Ohio State Buckeyes with their great year, fantastic talent all across the board, a Clemson team that a lot of people were not giving respect because they came from the ACC conference, where the teams in that conference weren't that good and they had an easier path. When push came to shove in the Fiesta Bowl, when Clemson was down 16-0 to Ohio State, it was over, right? Told you so. I heard it all. I can hear all the Ohio State fans, all the Big Watt fans, everybody, the SEC fans, that Clemson wasn't deserving. They played weak schedule. They played this. They played that. They were down 16-0, and it didn't look good. They looked and appeared to be overwhelmed, but I didn't see it that way. The only question was, could they overcome some of the big plays that Ohio State had? Because there only was big plays. It wasn't a mow you down Ohio State, but it was 16-0. Ohio State moved the ball on big plays, great catches, kicked 3 field goals. If you're that great, you got to finish your drives. Clemson's defense that nobody talked about, didn't believe they were that good, kept them in the game. Kept them in the game. And that was fantastic. And a beautiful thing. Real beautiful thing. All right. I'm going to look for one more thing over here, and then I'm going to move on. I thought I had it with me. I'm looking for it. I don't see it. Oh, here it is. I got it. All right, here we go. I'm going to end the show with the national championship game. Okay? Hear this out. Ohio State played a great game, but they only had 2 long runs. They were up 6-0 with 2 long runs and a big touchdown. Up 16-0 early. Clemson's defense was not fooled, though. What they did, they made adjustments. Clemson made adjustments. And their adjustment was what? They stopped reacting to the first move that Ohio State had when the ball was snapped. The first direction that Ohio State had. So it could be a turn to the left or to the right, and everybody moved quickly that way, but it went this way, a misdirection. And there was always a big hole. And give Ohio State credit for creating that opportunity. But what Clemson did on defense was halfway through the second quarter, they stopped chasing the fake, the movement, and stayed still. They just stayed pat on the snap of the ball and watched where the ball was and did not move. They didn't overreact. They didn't go 2 steps this way. They may have leaned this way or 1 step this way, but they saw the ball and they got back to where it really was going, and they did what? They stuffed the run. The running game disappeared for Ohio State, if you didn't notice that, halfway through the second quarter. And then Dobbins got hurt, but came back and looked okay. Then all of a sudden, the passing game became a vital point for Ohio State, and that struggled because Clemson started to rush 3 guys, dropping 4 linebackers, and had a secondary behind them. So they took away the short pass. They had the deep ball covered deep. They had a deep safety over the top. They adjusted. They did a great adjustment as a team, as a unit, everybody. But nobody talked about that enough. And that adjustment hurt Ohio State. They could not move the ball. And Clemson came back. And with the willpower of Trevor Lawrence, to me, oh my God, he's a great quarterback. He's a great quarterback. They used the option quarterback. Remember? Fake the handoff and then keeps it. And he kept keeping the ball. He took the big hits. And you wonder, can this guy last the whole game? He took a cheap shot to the head that cost one guy for Ohio State to be kicked out of the game for targeting. Costly. And it was, you can call it targeting because he went high and him in the head on a tackle. That's the rule. Now, Ohio State did not have an answer for Trevor Lawrence and that RPO. An RPO, which was the Clemson way of doing things. But it was effective. Moving the ball, and then boom, Trevor Lawrence took one to the house. He outran everybody. Yeah, a quarterback. And not to stereotype it, but hey, look who he was. The guy is a freak of nature. He is fast. He is tall, got a big arm. He knows how to throw a ball. He knows how to complete a pass. The guy is the future of the NFL. Him and Mahomes are the future of the NFL. Trevor Lawrence and Mahomes. Remember that. I've been telling you this since last year. That's the future. And everybody's going to look for those kind of quarterbacks. If you don't, you're going to be behind. Trust me on this. It's happening. The hybrid, freak of nature, the avatar of the sport itself is changing at every position, even at quarterback. It's coming and it's arrived. Trevor Lawrence did that and he destroyed Ohio State. And Ohio State doesn't want to admit that. He started making the play action, the fake handoff, opening up passing lanes, big throws. They had Ohio State on the run from that point on. And they went back to the RPO where he kept the ball, Trevor Lawrence, and he picked up 4 yards, 5 yards, a first down, a big run. Ohio State battled back and competed, took the lead. That was following the interception for a touchdown that was reversed that everybody's crying about, but you forgot, and you got to remember that Ohio State still got the ball back, and they still took the lead, and they had the Fiesta Bowl and go into the championship game in their grasp. So no excuse still at that point. Yes, that was a tough reversal that could be debated, but you still overcame it. You still had the lead. You still scored the touchdown, and you had to defend Trevor Lawrence, who on 4 plays took it down the field, 4 plays for the game-winning touchdown. That's where it was won. It was a great game. It was a great college football game. Everything that we were anticipating between Clemson and Ohio State. Clemson was not getting the credit it deserves. I think we're now somewhat on board with Clemson, but the odds makers have it differently. Right now, it's like a -3.5 favorite going to LSU. LSU is an explosive team. They've been great all year long. They should win the national championship. Should. But it's football. It's a game. You still got to play it. And you're playing against Trevor Lawrence, who has never lost a game. A Clemson team that has, 28 in a row, 29 in a row? They've won. They're the defending champs. They've been to the national championship game year after year now. They are the team. No more Alabama. It is Clemson. Let's give them respect. Why does Alabama get a lot of respect, but it's been Clemson who's done it again? Now goes up against LSU, and their great quarterback. And my God, he's a good one. All the records, all the awards. But he only has 1 year of this stuff. Like 1 year with Burrow, the quarterback. I mean, he's a good one. Joe Burrow is a good one. But in 1 year, he has turned his whole career, his whole life. He dominated college football. He is good. I heard one comment that says he has the physical throwing style or big arm like John Elway. Kind of reminds me of a John Elway. I'm like, oh, maybe not as mobile as John and as physical as John Elway, but I can see something there. But see, everybody's on the Burrow wagon, right? Go get a Burrow. Want a Burrow? I'll get a Burrow. I eat Burrows. All right, go get a Burrow. In LSU, they like Burrow. They love him. LSU also loves a lot of money. The coaching staff in LSU has made on bonuses $1.42 million. The entire coaching staff. They all got a bonus, and it all added up to $1.42 million in bonuses for the fact that they're getting a chance to play for the national championship. Winning it, I don't know how much they get for winning it, but they already got a bonus. All those coaches deserved. Why not? And good for LSU for looking out, and I'm sure that other schools do it. They all give bonuses out, but this report came out. Okay? But it's Joe Burrow against Trevor Lawrence. Joe Burrow has stolen the front page, the back page, every storyline of the 2019 college football season as the great quarterback, the Heisman winner. But it was Trevor Lawrence that we all saw a year ago beating Alabama and beat them bad. Right, he was great against Alabama as a freshman quarterback, a true freshman quarterback. Remember that too. He's a sophomore. And he still put up the numbers with lesser talent. But this Clemson team is growing and developing into their identity like every team should in every sport, is get better as your season goes along. You want to see progress. But with a great leader and quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, you have two quarterbacks that a lot of people are going to put all this emphasis and focus on on who has a better game. And that's deservedly. The two great quarterbacks for the last 2 years is Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow. I like the guy from Oklahoma who's been with Alabama. I think that guy's going to be a nice NFL quarterback. Jalen, going to be a nice one. But this game is going to be talked about this week as we're 1 week away from Monday night National Championship in Louisiana, the Superdome, where LSU is from, Louisiana State, home field advantage. There is everything against Clemson once again to overcome and to continue to overcome. It seems like every time they're in the national championship game or every time they are in the playoff picture, they are always having to overcome and being underdogs. And here we are again. So will you bet against Clemson? Hey, Clemson looks fantastic. I mean, LSU looks great, but so did Alabama. This is a tough one to pick. And I believe if LSU is able to do what Ohio State did in the first quarter, but finish it with touchdowns, the game is over. LSU will roll because they have an offense that will still find ways to put up points. Maybe not a lot like they have, because what they did against Oklahoma is not happening to Clemson, in my eyes. Not going to happen. Clemson's going to use the clock. They're going to challenge LSU to defend the run, slow down the game, run the timeout. So LSU doesn't have as many offensive opportunities to score points. Do you understand that aspect? That's one way to beat a high-profile, potent offense is slow the game down, use your running game, put some points on the board, stick around, and then you open up your playbook once you have, like Ohio State, battling in a different way. You change the game and you go and you open it up with big plays. All right, here are some keys to this game. Some big keys to this game, all right? And I hope you understand this. Clemson safeties have a big task. For one, they have to protect the over the top, the deep ball, right? Anything over 20 yards. They are okay as safeties, not great. Maybe their weakest point are their safeties. Their cornerbacks are pretty good. They did a good job against Ohio State. They made Ohio State receivers battle for receptions. I can't tell you how many times Ohio State receivers caught some balls that were covered. They were smothered, but those Ohio State receivers are good. And the great throws, right? Some great throws. But it's their safeties in Clemson that has a bigger task. Their linebackers in Clemson are good. They handled it well. They could stop the run. It was proven Saturday night. They stopped Ohio State run once they figured out what to do right and adjust because the talent level is there. Their front line, they're running three defensive linemen, 3-4 defense, basically. Do they do that again against LSU? I am curious to see what dynamic defensive scheme they're going to do against LSU because that is the game. Clemson's defense against LSU's offense. Because I believe Clemson's offense can put points on the board against an LSU's defense that is good, but not as great as their offense. And the fact that I've seen a lot of teams put points on the board and battle and move the ball on LSU's defense. So I believe Clemson will find ways to get in the end zone. Keeping it close is their goal. They can do it. I'm going to root for Clemson, but my brain and logic says LSU to win it all. All right, folks. One last update. I'm going to say hi to some people. I want to make sure no more big news coming down on the NFL. Any more firings out there? Nothing yet. Nothing big yet in the NFL unless you have something for me. I want to say hi to some more people out there And Facebook, thank you for joining me on Facebook. And also thank you for joining me on YouTube Live. Appreciate it. Let's go from here. Comments, and we'll say goodbye. Write it down. December 30th, Arizona Cardinals in the championship game, if not the Super Bowl in 2020. Wishful thinking. If you're thinking like you're the 49ers, okay, maybe. But I think the Niners have more talent and we're in a better spot a year ago. All right, let's wrap it up. We'll talk to you tomorrow, a Tuesday, a New Year's Eve show. Then we'll have a few days off, and we'll be back the following Monday with more NFL talk and a big preview of that LSU Clemson game. All right, for Cornelius, Brad, Hanna, and for Global Sports Broadcasting Network, we thank you for joining me on YouTube. This is Hanna Time, right here on YouTube Live, also on Facebook Live. We'll talk to you tomorrow, folks. Have a good one.